Hello. I literally just knocked into my camera trying to grab some lotion, and to my utter surprise, to my utter guffaw, did not fuck up my camera angle. Look at us. We're doing it. Let me do what I do terribly and check on some lotion. Audio balancing. And to my utter surprise, I think just turning down the audio of the music just a tish bit should be fine and should be able to keep everything chill, vibey, and it'll be great. It'll be nice, and we can get shows on the road, on the adventure, onward for adventure. Yeah, I think this should be crazy. This should be fine. This should be fine. This should be fine. My brain says this is gonna be a longer one. We'll see. We'll see. I'm dead ass though going to lose my place because the bitch has terrible vision, so she needs small paragraphs in order to, you know, not lose my place when reading. But we'll see how that goes. We will see how that goes with trying to read off of this screen. Hi, salutations. My name is Brianna Sikian Bond, otherwise known as No Ordinary Scholar, and I've got some stuff. We're just gonna chat. We're gonna discuss. Oh, I forgot to put a thing in the title. You're not gonna be able to see it, but that's fine. We're just gonna have a nice little Deskside Charla, a nice little Deskside chat, and there's spelling errors. We don't discuss, we don't judge in this household. We also strongly believe in this household that harshly and aggressively monitoring and enforcing and policing grammar and spelling and shit is exclusively a white supremacist thing. That is exclusively a white you see the word, you see the word. I spelled precedence wrong. You'll figure it out. You know what I'm talking about. I spelled opinion with an incorrect number of P's. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Okay, you know, I've communicated effectively to you still. Calm down. Before, that's a tangent. Before I go off the deep end when on the topic of grammar, I'll talk about grammar and spelling and what of that. Maybe I'll talk about that another day. Maybe I'll just write it on my blog, because I do that sometimes. Before we do all that, let's do housekeeping. I'm working on a very, very nice housekeeping morning announcements thing. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great, and we're gonna love it. We're all going to love it, and we're all gonna be very happy about it once it arrives and it is established. But for right now, we don't have morning announcements set up yet. So we're gonna just do what I've been doing, and we're gonna throw on this massive ass icon with some of my books, because if you like reading, I write books. I'm doing all of these things, but you can't see my face. It's fine. If you like reading, I write books. Those can be found linked down below on Itchio. You can get the files for the books for free. You're welcome to donate, pay what you'd like, but also more than welcome to just pick up the books for free. Most of my books are on there. We're trying to gain the energy to put the rest. It's gonna happen, I swear. but there's also 2 new books, both a new book in the Queen of Thieves series and a new standalone short story available on that site. So you should go check those out. Those are linked down below, right next to my links to a spreadsheet that has a bunch of different fundraisers and GoFundMe's for people who are around the world in crisis. And as well, there's also some links to some non-Zionist orgs for graphic design. I found out that Canva, that very popular graphic design site that people be using, is a Zionist org. They had like deleted work and deleted an account of people, you know, challenging genocide. And so I have thrown up there some recommendations for non-Zionist graphic design programs. I do my stuff off of Inkscape because after the process of trying to remove my files from Canva, I just want my shit to be my shit. I just want my shit to be accessible to me. I want it to be very available to me. I want to not have to worry, you know, about anything. I want my stuff. I want my stuff, and I want my things available to me at all times. I don't want to have to dig through 8,000 different files to download each one to know that I have access to all of the things I've worked on. It was aggressive. It was aggressive and frustrating. If you do still prefer to have something online, because Inkscape does not really work as an option online, then I have snappa.com also linked, which that is just going to be essentially a clone of Canva, the exact same thing. And I am currently distracted because we're adding a new link to our collection down below of covidactionmap.com or .org, which is just a map of a bunch of different places where you can get information to try and connect with COVID cautious folks around you, get access to tools, materials, PPE if you need, stuff like that. Try and find community, stuff like that. Hopefully it is a good jumping off point if you are struggling with loneliness from trying to maintain COVID precautions because you actually give a fuck about people. But hopefully that is a good jumping off point for a lot of people. That is final announcements. Fuck ICE. We stand with the people of LA. And we stand with immigrants across the world. Cool. Tis our housekeeping. So now let's get started with the video, with the just chat, with the discussion. This is going to be I want to call it just a Deskside Charla because I don't have this is kind of just me talking through things that have been going on and things that I'm processing, learning, etc. I do not have I don't have like links and quotes and like an organized thing. This is just kind of a chat. This is a chat. That's why we call. It's gonna be a time. It's gonna be a time. But it's especially because I don't have a space currently for like a good like reflecting on nonfiction that I'm reading. Like I have my book reviews for fiction that I'm reading, but this, I feel like nonfiction, I want a space where I can talk through, because the book that like prompted this, I Write What I Like, which is in the thumbnail, i.e. i.e. Like the book that prompted this, I'm not even done with it yet, but I have so many thoughts, so many feelings, and I would like to be able to get a chance to talk and express. Express. I want to be able to express. That is the purpose of this. But let's get started. Okay. So I am in a new phase of my life. I feel like for so long I've watched liberals kind of grab the rug I was standing on when abolish the police turned to defund the police, when Biden was fucking elected, when people stopped masking to protect from COVID because the government said people that aren't you are the ones dying and that's okay, and people were like, yeah, that's totally fucking okay. The way piracy debates treat Amazon like it is a fucking helpless puppy with no chance of survival unless they do the unthinkable and fuck over independent authors. Like people folding on the concept of genocide to be all, I'm with her, get the merch, get the t-shirts, get the signs and the banners. Oh, I saw them holding it. I knew that I couldn't really trust them. That's why I stepped away from a lot of social media, and especially book social media. I didn't have the language to explain my frictions with it then, though. But I hoped that there was at least some chance that they weren't completely short-sighted and they weren't completely willing to make really big mistakes for short-term anything. And then the 2024 US presidential election was the rug finally being pulled out from under me, and it felt like it was coming from all directions. It was watching a stadium full of Democrats cheer for harsher border regulation, things they called Hitlerian 4 years ago. It was the constant rewriting of what was in front of us because Democrat must equal whatever you want and not what they're saying and doing. They must be lying about the things they're saying and doing because that's not what you want, and they wouldn't be a Democrat if they weren't doing what you want. It was the mass opinion that genocide isn't a red line and it is violence against me for you to think that it is. I've been struggling with the realization that these people are not trustworthy for any material change, and that understanding fighting against the institutionalization that has told me, well, if you want to get anywhere, you have to make some consolations because these consolations are always full equality for everyone. But the election made me realize something. If people are going to resist proper solidarity, if they're worried about their foot slipping out of the door, then they will need to be pushed out entirely in order to get them out of the way. If folks are going to insist that they will reject acts of solidarity if they feel they might risk their way of life, if people won't stand with the most marginalized because they have something to lose, you are sending the message that what you have needs to be destroyed in order for real freedom to exist. You have to lose it in order for you to stop defending the system to protect it. That's why there are calls for death to the whole thing. It's not just a call against Biden, not just a call against the mayor, against the military. It is also an end to us and our culture that allows for the deaths under our boot to fade into the background if we feel that we need to take precedence. If things get a little too close to home and we want to forget all the times we said it's all connected. We are the imperialism. We are the Western left, and the Western left sits in the middle at best. People can't even be asked to pick a different musician, different movie studio. If you're still watching Disney but don't understand why people are still watching Harry Potter, ask yourself, because the answers they've been inside of you all along. You have the answer. It's not a different situation. If it's an answer you cannot face, you have no business expecting it from others for your sake. And I've said it before, but I've had a parasocial relationship with the concept of the people, and that is gone now. I really do have just no illusions any longer about people coming together to take care of each other, because at the end of the day, when all else fails, it's right and wrong. We know right and wrong. I no longer have that level of faith, and I keep feeling like I keep feeling like I'm at the point of like the faith is gone and there's no chance for anything else. I'm done. It's over. I no longer believe in the people. But you somehow manage to keep digging a fucking hole, because I live in Chicago. My city has been covered in fucking smoke for like weeks, and then we get a little break for a heat wave, and then it's another week of looking like we are inside of one of those fucking swirling smoke crystal balls with the swirling smoke. You can't see anything. It looks like we are just in a dome of white. You can't see the fucking skyline. And I see motherfuckers on bikes, running, jogging with their goddamn strollers at fucking concerts without masks. And it's like, you're not gonna convince me y'all don't understand. Like, y'all keep saying that it's just poor education is why people don't protect from COVID. People saying it's like, well, we're just following the government education. We're just following what we had been told. Okay, who told you that was safe? Who told you when your city is doused in smoke, it's all right to just be out and about exercising outside? No one told you that. No one told you that. But I digress. So I took in these realizations. As I took in these realizations, as I was in the space where I was taking in these realizations, I became surrounded by anti-liberal leftist, though in general, also distancing away from like those kinds of terms, because terms can be appropriated. I've seen so many goddamn leftists who have the same middling bullshitting politics, know the right words, but spend all of their leftist politic time trying to get confirmation that they're an exception to the harm that they cause. I've been surrounded by politics that I actually align with, and it goes from COVID cautious discords that have no liberal bullshit in the rules, parable of the sower, so help me God, if you don't mask but you bring up this book, hit yourself over the fucking head with it and maybe you'll get the point. Doubly so if you call Butler psychic. Small Prophecies by Samantha Gwendolyn. That book has my whole heart. I have not connected with anything so much in my life, I feel, genuinely, as well as research on nostalgia and fascism. Let's talk about the book that's prompted this all. I Write What I Like, Steve Biko. The best thing I've read, which I Write What I Like, is a collection of essays and such written by Steve Biko. The best thing that I've read from I Write What I Like is something approximating: liberals want to change the system from within, but you can't change your enemy if you don't properly know your enemy. And liberals consistently underestimate how hard it is to resist being an oppressor. And I feel like that is something we consistently see with politicians, but also the people. If you're at the point of cheerleading for a slow version of fascism, you have failed the task of resisting the pull of fascism. One of the things I deeply appreciated with Biko's essays is the perspective also of actually centering the most vulnerable. Fucking wonders. Prioritize the building of a foundation that does not compromise on the freedoms and equality of others for the sake of numbers, because that isn't real solidarity. That cycle of closing the door behind you isn't real change. And with that, I want to talk about the concept of like performative or vanity politics. And I agree that someone doing something performative politics, performative, visual, I agree that those things are good for bringing visibility to issue, but I think we should do better at understanding that those things do not entitle someone to any actual trust. As we've been over and over, including in the 2024 presidential election, as we've seen, people will constantly flip on the concept of others' freedoms and equality the second they don't like what privilege they'd have to give up. And that is a very, very real issue. Some of y'all will give up people's right to exist outside the fucking house because you want to get brunch. The haircuts, that was the line. That was silly. But brunch, I mean, what else are we supposed to do? And there's a belief that I hold very true to my heart. If your need to be considered one of the good ones, or an exception to the harm you engage in, is something you will use to cut off, speak over, or pester someone when they are expressing feelings about or acting in accordance to the reality of oppression that they're experiencing, you are in fact not one of the good ones, and you are a picture of that harm. This goes for if you are a man offended that someone tested the drink you bought them for drugs. This is if you're if you're white and insert list of things white people do, white liberals do. Oh my God. If you're a marginalized USian who thinks that you can't be an oppressor, but also genocide is one issue, and we gotta make sure it's only considered one issue now that we're talking about things that target me. Next topic is futural nostalgia. I've been reading and studying because I want to do a video on futural nostalgia. That was a topic that has been very interesting to me since the election because of how much nostalgia was prodded at and wielded as a weapon in the election. The concept of futural nostalgia itself is that we are constantly stuck in a persistently terrible present that will only get better in the future. People make fun of the Make America Great Again slogan. It is a great picture of that futural nostalgia. Now is terrible. Again, in the future, it can be great. But slogans based on that were running rampant in the Democratic campaign as well. Make America nice again, joyful again, free again. And regardless of if it was supposed to be a one-up or satire or a joke on it, it still begs the same question of for who was America fucking nice to before? Who was America nice to during the Biden administration? Who was it free for during their administration, joyful for? And it also sold tickets. It sold. Though all of those slogans, all of those spoofs off of what Trump was doing, that got people engaged, and it made people lean into it. People bought the merch, people spread the memes. And there's a point that someone brought up that I think is also something we should be far more aware of in election season. She was saying is that people were saying these things, make America nice again, etc., while still in office. And consistently we've seen presidents talking about, I saw someone point out the fact that we've consistently seen presidents talk about, oh, this is what I'll do in my first 100 days, while they still have more than 100 days left in their current term. And I think that is something we should be far more aware of. We should just in general be far more aware of how much politics is just words and marketing and not actual effort and work. And the thing everyone would always say is that, well, what was she supposed to do? She was only the vice president. But those same people would also push the idea that her running mate Waltz could or would sway the office. He would have such a great he would be such a great thing for the office, for the country, and people should be swayed by him, if not her, then by him. But it's a lack of consistency. Either VPs are there to sit there and look cute, or they're the second most powerful person in the country. Either she was not doing enough, or she should be held to the things that were happening in that administration, or he should have no impact on who you're deciding and who you're thinking of for your vote. The presidential election, it's all just political theater. It's all political theater and nothing more. but it is that point of you have over 100 days. So why are you talking about your first 100 days once you get a vote? It's all theater. It's all marketing. It's all just visuals and the aesthetic of politics without the actual work, change, and efforts. But even if we ignore the Make America Whatever again, the Democrats had already had their own nice big fascist line, and it came straight from the book I mentioned before that liberals and leftists love to cherry pick from, Parable of the Sower. Back to Normal. The Back to Normal movement secured for the Democratic Party that their base was just as susceptible to fascist propaganda as the right. Because who the fuck was it normal for? How the number of people that died from COVID, why would we want to go back to normal without anything that would actually prepare us for the changes that this is bringing about? Why would we want to go back to normal, and normal allowed for this to get as bad as it did? People are disabled from COVID. How do you get to normal from that? How do you get to normal when people are reinfecting themselves with a disease that is causing a lot of damage to their bodies and also their immune systems? We don't want normal. We want better healthcare. We want more accessible healthcare, but normal is the brunches. It just took one catchy slogan and reality meant nothing anymore. That's not even the only example of rewriting reality. COVID and public health is not the only example, which I swear to fucking God, the number of people they're doing the liberal thing of like, now that Trump's in office, oh my God, COVID's gonna get so bad. People are dying by the thousands a week under the Biden administration from COVID alone. And those numbers were absolutely underestimations because he did the same thing y'all complained about before. Let's stop testing. Let's stop making testing accessible. And so you don't know you have COVID. You don't know if that's what's causing your health problems. You don't know that's what's going to get you. He also tried to stop hospital reporting of COVID deaths. That went back and forth for a while and I lost track of it, and just other instances of rewriting reality from that presidential election, specifically the topic of immigration. She explicitly said that Trump wasn't hard enough on immigrants and used the same racist rhetoric that he did to a standing ovation. And she has the history to back up that Biden administration deported 1 million more people in 1 year than Trump had in his first 4 years in office. They were still separating families and they were still putting kids in cages. And people are propping up using a just token woman as a shield for not questioning Kamala on immigrations because this specific person had their family been personally brutalized by Border Patrol under Trump. And that is incredibly traumatizing. And that is terrible and horrible, but that argument is not rooted in principle, moral, or values. Principle and values would be saying that this shouldn't be happening to anybody, no matter who does it. This is denialism. To insist that because it isn't the person that did harm to you or did harm to this one person, then nothing else matters. No one else can be the bad guy. Especially in U.S. political landscape, it is denialism in the shape of if they're the bad guys, if you're the bad guy, that means they have to be the good guys. Everyone's bad. They're both fucking bad. That's the reality. It also stems from a history of media tricking the people into thinking that there is such a thing as objectivity, and thus having any bias is a sign that you are a con or a liar or manipulative or whatever. Because frankly, the idea that you won't vote for someone because of the harm you personally received from them is a bias. It's completely normal. I understand. I definitely get it. But then that becomes but if that then becomes the only real bad person there can be is the one that hurt me, then that is a bias that is getting in the way of living by your morals and values. And it is also individualism and self-centered. On the topic of the environment, this is genuinely one of the things that baffles me the fucking most. Again, a part of this instance is that idea that if one person's bad, the other one has to be good. I vividly remember seeing someone post about how if you want to save the environment and if you want to stop the destruction of the oceans and everything, vote Kamala. This is first and foremost just pure colonialism. By far, the military is the worst polluter we've got. Someone who will not only not commit to ending the flow of weapons and money to a country dropping literal tons of explosives hourly on an area of this world is not going to save the fucking environment. And when she says she wants America to have the most lethal military in the world, a statement that also got a standing ovation, I fucking assure you, she's not talking about recycled bullets or eco-friendly bombs. And I also think that it's incredibly fair, logical, reasonable, and realistic to say killing people en masse, i.e. the most lethal military in the world, in a world that actively has a fucking genocide going on, is not gonna be great for the planet. And that's all coming from, and this all happened the year of REMPAC, where all these militaries, there's a bunch of militaries from all over the world. Every 2 years, they go to Hawaii to blow shit up, shoot wildly, rape, and leave their destruction behind, not cleaning up after themselves, and genuinely nearly sending different animals, including a type of turtle, into extinction. You know, military games. Do I think that this person gives a singular fuck or did a singular check on anything? No, because I don't think they give a fuck about the military. I think that is like hidden out of their point of view because they don't care what the military does. They think the military is a normal, natural part of the world. But then are they a reliable source when talking about what is good and needed to help protect this planet? Not at fucking all. Like, if you're just going to ignore the number one polluter of the country, you're useless. And this all reminds me of the outrage that was going around when Bezos said that he suppressed fact checkers because he said they were biased. A lot of people heard that and heard fact checkers are always calling out Republicans because Democrats don't lie. Now, let's be real. No part of me thinks Bezos did this with anything other than malicious intent, but the reaction being to crown literally any politician or any political figure as they must be honest because of their party. Come on now. Please, can we be fucking serious? I would fully believe that fact checkers are biased when deciding what statements they're actually going to challenge. Who fact checked this statement that Kamala Harris is going to save the environment to say, hey, wait, that's not how the environment worked? Who fact checked the statement that she would protect trans lives and explained that the only thing she said, possibly the entire time she has been vice president included, about trans people was that she would follow the law, and then showed a log of all the laws around the country regarding trans folk and what that looks like across all 50 states. Who was the official source that fact-checked the statement that Megan Thee Stallion made at a rally about her giving a shit about Palestine? No one did. And that is a bias, not actually implementing a fact check, or bias when you're doing your fact check. Those are biases. Again, I don't think Bezos had a decent bone in his fucking body when he made that fucking decision, but I also have seen a lot of liberal bullshit go by unchallenged, and that is bias in fact-checking spaces. on to Black Lives and the talk about what Kamala was going to do for Black Lives. First and foremost, let it be very clear, is the organization, the like nonprofit organization of Black Lives Matter can suck my ass. This is another area where I felt like the only way to explain the cognitive dissonance here is just people in real time rewriting history. And because given her history, why is anyone saying she's going to do jack shit good for Black anybody? She and Biden donated to the police multiple times in their tenure, including in George Floyd's name. She, as a, I believe, district attorney, kept prisoners past their due release to use as slave labor for the firefighting forces. And I saw big political influencers, people that I had followed at the time, insinuating that bringing her as a DA using slave labor was as frivolous as talking about her race. Number one, no, it's fucking not. And I just cannot fathom dismissing that, blowing that. I genuinely fucking can't. And number two, it's especially topical because that literal issue was on the California ballot, and the people of that oh so progressive blue state voted to keep slave labor in place. Then they posted their sad face emojis when they saw juvie kids out fighting fires. But at the same time, she's an amazing Black woman that held so many different levels of office. The only reason you wouldn't want her is because she's a woman. You can't critique her from any of these levels of office, but just the fact that they were there, it's supposed to mean anything. And my problem, my beef, is really with the people who were cheerleading, campaigning, and I'm with herring. I'd say my beef is even with the folks that had hope in her, because who, what, when, where, why, and how, other than the fact that she wasn't Trump. Because that's not a high bar. A piece of shit would be a better leader than him. That doesn't make a piece of shit a good president that's going to save us. Is because she is a Democrat? Well, what did she do that actually aligned with those democratic values? Like, it would be one thing if people actually were like, I picked her because I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, but her policies are still terrible. I'm gearing up for an oppressive 4 years with her too. But instead, folks were saying, I'm caught between a rock and a hard place, but really the rock isn't that bad, and it's so much better than the hard place, and a rock is basically a pillow, and I love the rock, and you hate equality if you don't love it too. Like, I get wanting to have hope and like wanting something to have hope in, but if you have to lie and stretch and erase reality to have it, that's not hope, that is delusion. And there are two, among other things, that really fucked with US citizens' ability to meaningfully engage with politics. One is the need to get so damn emotionally attached to politicians. Like, could you imagine having these kinds of reactions, the reactions we see around the presidential election, if a new manager comes into your job, dude you've never met before comes in, takes over the manager position, they're gonna change everything. They're gonna make the world a better place. And like with this, I'd like to bring up back really quick. Number two. I said two things. Number two is forgetting the idea that politicians should at all times be proving to us that they still deserve their job. With this, I'd like to bring up the recent election in New York. There is nothing wrong with wanting Cuomo to fuck himself. Nothing wrong with being excited that he flopped. And nothing wrong with wanting to see what Nani does in office. But there are so many people describing it as a sign of healing, a sign of change that can happen, that the world can go in a better direction, all before he has a singular iota of a chance to do anything. And now you see those same people flip-flopping and tantruming at this whole fucking African-American thing, because can't, like, if he's going to be the sign of change, healing, and perfection, then he can't have done something like sketchy and fucked. You can't criticize him. He can't have anything that is worth criticizing about him, despite the fact that the logic that they're bringing about also gives Elon just as much right to call himself African American, which I'm sure those same people threw a tantrum about, because it's not they're holding on to something, and it's not logic, principles, values. Again, I get wanting to have hope, but when you start crafting a reality of what you want hope of his future to be. Now you've created this task for yourself to fight that reality as the real one happens. Because if nothing else, I think it is undeniable that the utopia people think that he is going a sign of can come about in one term. So how are you going to reconcile these things? But that is a lot of things that have been going on in my head, in my mind, with regard to electoral politics, and especially as a reflection of the 2024 presidential election. I'm fucking tired. Y'all exhaust me. Y'all exhaust me so much. And I just am tired and wanting to focus on just building a small garden, small community that can actually have a foundation of something, because I don't think that a lot, like, I do not trust any foundation that does not eradicate this kind of thought, behavior, and tendency to be sustainable, to be stable. It is also, am I going to link? I'll at some point, I might do just a post to link Class Trader by Smouthy Gwendolyn. But yeah, just also, I prioritize aligning myself with folks of the global south, folks of the just outside of the West, because the privilege that exists of the West, for the most part, anyone that's not, unless you are a prisoner, an immigrant, or like some other marginalizations, but for the most part, prisoners and immigrants, aside from them, you are still leaps and bounds in privilege above folks in the global south. I want to say people in the United States, if you're making more than like 30,000 a year, you are in the top 1 to 10% of earners globally, because most places in the world earn $10 a day. That is the most marginalized among us. That is the wretched of the earth, and that is the group that needs to be prioritized in order to actually bring about any form of change. And so bring about sustainable change that's not just the same systems with different coats of paint oppressing the same people outside of your view, outside of your immediate view. But in order to prioritize those groups and those people, that means being a traitor to your class here in the States. And I'm fully okay with that. That feels far better to me than trying to reflect any of this bullshit whatsoever. But that is all I've got to say for me right now. Again, links are down below to a bunch of things. Thank y'all so much for watching, and until next time, valedictions, friends.